Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining the award-winning To Hull and Back podcast, proudly sponsored by Old Zoological Bar and Kingfisher Quality Fish and Chips in Hull. I'm your host, Nathaniel, and tonight I'm joined by Joe to discuss what is still an unbeaten start to the season for Hull City, but a little bit of an underwhelming one. But Joe, on this bumper weekend with Monday off as well, how are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm feeling good, mate. It's just us two again. So if there's anybody listening who's clicked on thinking, "Oh God, I hope one of those two idiots is missing," then they've looked out for the second week running. But hopefully, we will be joined by some more of us soon in the coming episodes. I think we should mention Tigers Talk as well, shouldn't we? How that was abruptly cancelled. Basically none of us were free, and because we set the live up pretty much on the day, that only became apparent about 3 hours before we were meant to go live. So I don't know what went out on Humber Wave at that point, but I was at York Races, so there was nothing I could really do.
It must have just been some more music, I imagine, having done the show a few years ago for them. Yeah, it must have just been the standard tracks. I don't know how many of the songs I downloaded onto their system they still play, because I was there for a little bit, but hopefully some of them do. But yeah, worth mentioning. So sorry if you were expecting that Wednesday night.
We will be back on Wednesday with at least me, Paul, and AD.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I predicted a tight City win, and it could have been that way. It also could have been a Millwall win, 0-0 in the end. You said before the podcast it was just two bad sides. How did you see the game?
It was just that one. It was two championship teams who aren't going to pull up any trees this year, playing out a game between two championship teams who aren't going to pull up any trees this year. It was a dull game, apart from a few little moments. You think the penalty shout, Bedier's overhead kick, a couple of good saves from Ivor Panda. I can think of two off the top of my head. That one from point blank range where he bailed Alfie Jones out, and then one in the second half that was straight at him. A couple of little bits of Regan Slater trickery. I thought he was brilliant. Put a couple of people saying that he's not cut out for Walter Ball.
I was one of them, but he was my man of the match yesterday. I thought he was really, really good, and that was encouraging because we all love 50 grand Regan Slater. So for him to actually play well in that system was very encouraging because I think it's nice to see some of those players like Cole and Slater, who we've had for quite a while, still be in the team as well.
Yeah, well, I was saying to my dad during the game, because I spoke to George Honeyman before the game started, and I'm just going to check I've got this right with the list in front of me, but I'm fairly certain if you don't count like Callum Jones, the only players that are left were in and around the first team from when George Honeyman was at the club. Louis Coyle, Alfie Jones, Sean McLaughlin, Ryan Longman.
Yes.
Xavier Simon, sorry, Regan Slater, and to an extent, Matty Jacob and Harvey Cartwright. Cartwright, I think you can count. Jacob, I don't think you really can.
Well, Cartwright played with Honeyman at least, or it must have been 2 or 3 times. Like Jacob, I don't think he did he? So
no, he'd have been in the squad. In the League One season, he was on the bench in that Papa John's Trophy game that we all loved against Leicester's under-21s, where KLP scored, but Honeyman was at home.
Yeah, but those players, especially if any of them were in the League One winning season, and they're sort of homegrown players from England, don't have the sort of flair, less flashy that we've not brought in for big money. That's sort of the identity of the club, that you recognise over the years. So
Louis Coyle, we got what for about 150 grand, 250 grand, something like that.
Not much at all.
You could buy a house for what we bought Louis Coyle for.
Well, you probably could have done 10 years ago. You'd struggle now. To economy and back. I mean, I'd like to go back to the economy 10 years ago. That'd be much better.
Anyway,
A few new signings to discuss. I was sure that Hughes was going to play because I
I
had
was
been,
absolutely certain Charlie Hughes would
yes,
start.
I've been extremely vocal of my criticism of McLaughlin, and also Panda's not been great too. I thought Ruchopi would definitely be in after Panda had given the ball away a few times against Plymouth, and thought McLaughlin would be in. We've spent this big money on Hughes. He's great on the ball, get him in. McLaughlin was actually really good. He gave the ball away. I think the clock was 1 minute 59 seconds because I remember looking at it thinking he's given it away playing out the back. But that was the only time in the whole game, and actually he played very well. And I thought he didn't seem to sprint up pitch and play up front quite as much. Still more than I would like, which is never. But I thought McLaughlin and Slater were pretty good. Panda, again, I don't think he gave the ball away. He made a lot of regulation saves, but he's growing into it. So
Yeah, I think a
less
lot of the
concerned.
preseason, like concerns about Panda having poppadom wrists and laces his gloves with butter and what have you. I think they've gone, definitely. He looked relatively assured in himself against Bristol City. He then looked a little bit shaky against Plymouth.
Might be harder away from home as well.
Yeah. And then yesterday he came into his own, really, commanded his box well, couple of good saves. And are we starting to see a little bit of why Adrian rates him so highly, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, most of I think, bar the one from George Saville quite early on, where that was a really good save, point blank range. I was sure Saville was going to score. All the saves were straight at him, but pretty much half the goals Allsop conceded last season were straight at him, and he found a way to concede. So, you can't really blame him for that. Yeah, I think he's still a very young goalkeeper. He's only played 3 games for us. He's a young goalkeeper in his entire career. Is he 24, 25, which is probably about 5, 6, 7 years younger than you'd want your goalkeeper to be. So, yeah, I mean, the defence against, Plymouth, the goal conceded there wasn't great, but we've got a first clean sheet. It's more going forward, getting the ball and having those clear-cut chances. Burstow had one that was smothered. That was pretty decent. And, of course, Betty had the overhead kick from a set piece. But the defence, I'm not too displeased with that at the moment, especially if you see
Burstow
Hughes come
also
in.
had one that should absolutely, definitely have been a penalty. But
yeah.
Well,
shall we talk about that? So I think
not because he was breaking his fall, so it's fine.
Well, I think occasionally I understand that handball. Obviously, if it's a deliberate handball, then that's a foul / penalty, free kick or penalty. That's fine, and we all accept that. But equally, even if it's accidental, if a shot is blocked by your arm that's away from your body, it doesn't matter if you're breaking your fall. You shouldn't be able to block a shot that might go in the goal with your arm like that. And that's not, it's not a foul per se from the other player. He's not trying to block it with his arm, but he has done. And I don't really think you want to see a sport where you're not allowed to use your arms, but a goal is prevented by hitting the arm. So it should have been a penalty. And it was so clear. The ref's quite close to it. And I couldn't see it from the West Lower stand, but the ref was like edge of the box, like Slater was when he had the shot. So I think that's the first dreadful decision we've had go against us this season.
Yeah, championship refs are back, aren't they?
They really are. They really are.
Well, like you, Nathaniel, I couldn't see it fully from where I was sat. I was doing a piece to camera at the time, and it just sort of said shot. It's waved away. Shouts for a penalty by the north stand, but it's waved away. I couldn't see from here. Me and my dad were mulling the first half over with beer in hand at half time, and we both saw it on the little TV screens they've got above the concourse, and we both thought, "Oh my God, the referee's had a howler."
Yeah, and it might work itself out over the course of the season. I think last year we had more go against us than not, or it might be just that you remember those more. But certainly 3 games in, we are down 1 in terms of dreadful refereeing decisions. And I still feel like we're owed for the Norwich game, which, considering they finished above us in the playoffs. Well, precisely, both Norwich games, and which decision in those Norwich games. We're still owed for that.
Well, yeah, is it the corner? Is it the foul on McLaughlin? Is it the elbow on Coyle? Is it Aaron Connolly getting murdered?
We've got to move on. We've got to move on. I'm still not over it, but we've got to move on from that. But I hate Tanger's gun. Zambrano in the midfield, I think when he had the ball, the 5 times in the hour he was on the pitch, or however long, looked good. I don't know whether it was a positional thing, but Seri, we'll get on to him leaving in just a bit as well. Under Vecina, he was basically a sweeper, whereas it seems Zambrano might be a little bit more forward-thinking and higher up the pitch. But really, we did not get the ball into the midfield enough until like the later stages of the second half, and Merlin picking up some pockets. Zambrano looked fine, but he was really not involved very much, and that's not really his fault. I thought positionally, it's probably further up the pitch than Seri is, and like the defenders in the modern day get the ball. It's the centre halves and the fullbacks who are on the ball. It doesn't seem to be the midfielders, which was strange because you'd expect Seri to dictate more. But how did you see his performance and the other new signing Burstow as well?
I thought Burstow did okay. Well, we'll start with him. Had a couple of decent chances, created some good opportunities for himself in terms of creating space. He was always a presence in the box, and you thought if he was just 2 or 3 yards further back, he gets his head on that. When it just went across, just ran over his head and had to drop to Liam Miller instead. Zambrano, I thought, similar to what you said, Nathaniel, really, he didn't have a lot to do. He was in, a lot of space the whole time. Did well to find those little pockets, and he's still living at the Hilton ultimately. So when he settles and when he learns the language, which he is learning, I had quite an awkward interaction with Oscar Zambrano the other day after the Sheffield Wednesday game. I saw him, and he has an interpreter with him, whether it's his agent or someone. I don't know, but I was conversing with him in Spanish, broken Spanish, but still Spanish. And Oscar was talking a little bit back to me and what have you. And then I saw him at the open training session on the Tuesday, and I tried to do the same, and he just didn't say a word back to me. The only thing he said back to me was "How are you?" in like quite broken English. And I thought, when I walked off, I thought, "Oh my God, I've been a right tit of myself." Because the thing is, I can actually hold a basic conversation in Spanish.
So did he not recognise you?
Yeah, I think he did. He did. It's not quite what one of the older blokes who is with us before and after games said, though. He says, "Oscar, isn't it your bedtime?" And when after the Sheffield Wednesday game, past your bedtime. And when I say Bill, he won't understand that. Bill goes, "Yes, he will. He'll know what Oscar means." Anyway, going down an almighty rabbit hole there. So,
I don't know if Ecuadorian Spanish is exactly the same as Spanish.
Spanish. Yeah, I think amigo and que tal are kind of the same.
Vamos must be.
Vamos is, yeah. Vamos is.
Be.
It's just the only sort of difference is Z's in traditional Spanish. His surname would be pronounced Zambrano.
Yes.
The Z is like a TH, but in more South American and more modern interpretations of Spanish, a bit more slangy, let's say, it is just Zambrano.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Anyway, almighty rabbit hole, almighty tangent. Let's get back to it. Once he settles more, he'll be fine. I just hope that he doesn't get found guilty of in that doping investigation.
Yeah, I mean, I'll keep saying it, but obviously the reason why we signed him now after Premier League interest in January is that we are, and it's very suitable to Adjun's personality, that he would be willing to take a risk on this sort of player, because I think he's probably quite an optimistic person, and he says Oscar's innocent, so he must be. I mean, again, I'm going to say every week until the ban is either given or not. Oh, you want to sign me, and I want to move to England and live out my dream of playing in the Premier League and getting paid lots more than I would in Ecuador. No, I'm actually going to be found guilty. Don't sign me.
The Championship's just one league below that. Yeah. Of course I'm innocent, mate.
Yeah. I mean,
don't you worry about that, Adjun.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And I mean, I don't know whether that will affect his performance, because I imagine it's quite stressful having that looming over you. Mind you, I don't know if he's banned. How long is he banned for? Is it 6 months? Is it forever?
It'll vary, won't it? Livermore's was, if we think back to when Jake Livermore was banned, obviously the circumstances surrounding Zambrano and Livermore
and the governing body must be different as well.
Yeah, the FA showed sort of empathy for Livermore in the space of like 3 days. He lost his firstborn and the FA Cup final.
Yeah, his wasn't doping.
In the grand scheme of life, one of those is a hell of a lot bigger than the other.
Yeah, he was not doing that to gain an advantage, was he?
No, he wasn't on it during the FA Cup final.
No.
But it was, and then because of that situation, and when Livermore explained why he did it as like a coping mechanism, the FA sort of thought, yeah, we maybe shouldn't be utter scumbags here and show some sort of level of human empathy. And that reduced his ban, and the club stood by him through that. And I can see the club standing by Zambrano through this ban, unless the only clause in there is you buy him if he's not banned.
Yeah, I think that must be it.
Surely.
Because they probably wouldn't have to stand by him. I mean, why would they? Because then they'll say, oh, actually, you lied to us. You said you were innocent, and we're not going to spend lots of money on you if you've lied to us. And Adjun's had to, because Adjun looks like an idiot then, doesn't he? If he's come out and said, oh, I believe he's innocent, and he isn't.
But I suppose it depends on how good he is for us. If it, let's say the ban let's say, for argument's sake, the verdict...
the next Messi, then...
for argument's sake, the verdict is given in February. If between now and then, Oscar Zambrano is the best central midfielder in the league, and he fits the Seri mould perfectly, but combines it with the Sander Berger midfield presence and drives forward and efforts from range that don't go into Rosehead every time he tries them, like Seri used to do, which we all loved him for. If genuinely he is one of the best midfielders in the league, when he gets banned, I can see that changing the club's view a little bit. If the ban's like 4 months, then the club might just say, all right, we'll buy him anyway, because he's been this good for us. And the ban will cover most of pre-season. So...
What was it that he gets banned
for? But we'll see.
A certain amount of games, I have absolutely no idea, but it's one to keep an eye on. But yeah, he played fine yesterday with what he had to do, which was a bit... it wasn't very much that they had to do.
I'll just say quickly, Giles at left back, massively prefer him at left back, massively in this system. He didn't rip up any trees or what have you, and I know some people will still say, oh yeah, he didn't look interested getting gone. But in that first half, he was making some runs, inverted or overlapping Miller, and it was just in the second half when we had those moments of pressure before he came off. For some reason, he was really tentative and a bit scared to get on Miller's outside and overlap him, get fed the ball by Miller's right foot, just a simple pass, and then whip a first-time crossing. Maybe it was because Chris Badia hadn't been subbed on yet or something like that. But there's a comment's just literally come in there. We've seen what Jazz can do for Middlesbrough. in 22-23. I think it's just sort of telling him, look, Ryan, if you've got the situation where you can make that run, make that run.
Mm-hmm.
And I think once the whole transfer window saga is out of the way, I think we can see Giles settling a little bit and growing into the player we know he is.
Yeah.
And
he either needs to leave or know that he's staying with this Middlesbrough link. It's just looming over him, and it's all the discussion until September. We're going to still be thinking, is he going to leave even on deadline day, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think once he steps on that pitch at Leeds, then we'll be fine.
Yeah, he's not playing at Leeds on deadline day and then being sold, is he?
It's not day after deadline day.
Oh, fair enough. Is it? Yeah, I suppose it must be.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's
and
good.
Then another point I just quickly want to make: Abdush, possibly his worst game for us, just because he's so not a winger, and that's exposed so much more in this system. Because fullbacks, they're not.
We're just getting in the box every chance we get, aren't we? Pretty much.
Yeah, and we're just sort of. Yeah, he needs to be central. And once we've got more wingers, he will be. But he was so isolated out there. And once Will Jarvis came on, he gave us something down that right-hand side that we didn't have for the 60, 65 minutes before.
Jarvis is super direct. I really like the look of him. If he can just stop crossing the ball straight into the goalkeeper's arms, then he'll be really good, because every time he gets on the ball, it looks like something's going to happen. And to be fair, even if you don't have the end product, if you can at least pass it to someone else who can, and you're in that middle area and making things happen, whereas Amir was sort of cutting back and wasn't going at his man, then you might get a goal out of that from just sort of the chaos and the space he's creating with his dribbling. But once he gets that first cross that doesn't go straight to the goalkeeper and maybe goes to Burst or Bedia, then he might be onto something. But we'll talk about the transfers in a little while, and that we might get in. But he's certainly shown that he's really come on a bit after being in Ireland, and he could be quite a useful player this season.
Yeah, I mean, I love Java, mate. I think he's top. And I do fear for him a little bit, though, because he was always far too good for the League of Ireland. Under 21s level, he always stood out as like the guy, let's say. Him, Ollie Green, players like that always stood out as these guys are probably too good for under 21s level, but it just never happened for them. Ollie's at Livingston now, which is a bizarre move, I thought, but it's up to him ultimately. It's his career, it's not mine. So fair play to him there. What a bloke, top guy. But Javo, he's had to wait a little bit to get this chance, and I hope that this time it happens for him, because he's had spells before where he's played a game here, a game there, been on the bench a couple of times. But this is 4 games on the bounce he's played for us, and he's a good player. He always has been a good player, and I just hope that even though we're meant to be signing these 2 wingers on a permanent deal, that doesn't shove him back down the pecking order, and he's sat in the under 21s, or he gets farmed out on loan again, because he's too good for that.
That's an interesting question from a new commentator I've not seen before, Warlord.
I've been Warlord, HCAFC, top man.
I like that. Who are the current academy players who are a step above, other than Jarvis?
Okay, so
is it Cine? Cine.
I like Cine, but I just think if he was going to this year's going to be his 3rd year in under 21s, and what you find is very few players do more than 3 years in under 21s.
There's not really any point, is there?
No. And had Cine broke through fully this pre-season, then I'd have thought, right, cool, Cine's made it. But I'm just not. It's the 3rd year under 21s that that's an awkward one, because some of them, like Matty Jacob, get a new contract and then an opportunity happens for them.
Yeah.
It just didn't fall right for Ollie Green, for example. And he thought, right, there's no point in me sticking about, and the club let him go ultimately. In terms of academy players who are a cut above, someone I really, really like the look of at left back in the under-18s, actually, but he's played for the 21s a lot through pre-season and was on the bench the other day. Ed Devine, he's got something about him, definitely. Keep an eye out for him. He's a brilliant little fullback. There's obviously Ramel Carter and Zach Jagielka. They're the ones catching the eye for the 18s now. I'll go and watch them again in a few weeks. And then moving over to 21s, Rocco Coyle, Nathan Tinsdale in the midfield. They're good. Nathan Tinsdale, in terms of his passing range and his positional sense, is top. Rocco,
So basically everyone?
No, not basically everyone.
No.
But I think I've massively elongated that question and given you a couple of names. But I really think Stan Ashby, although he's still technically a second-year scholar, he's still 17. We need to be looking to get him out on loan, I think, because I think he should have played more in pre-season, and I think he should be with the first team the whole time, because sitting in the 21s for a year when he's already ready for the step up to be playing men's football this early, I think it's just going to be a waste of time. He had a little bit of 21s and 18s football last year, and there's a reason he made his debut before did he turn 17? I think he turned 17 by the time he made his debut. But I think the club really need to be looking to get him a loan move into the National League North, League Two, whatever, one of those three leagues, just to get him used to men's football. However, I think that's the way it should go. When Jacob Reeves was his age, for comparison, he was still in the under-18s. He was the under-18s captain. And I think it speaks that the club have higher expectations for Stan that he's not, and Harry Revel is, because they expect Stan not to play in that under-18s team at all.
Yeah.
So I think, if not this window, then in January, the club should look to get Stan out playing men's football, because it will do him the world of good. He'll learn more playing, for argument's sake, week in, week out for Scarborough in the National North than he will playing in the 21s in front of in what's going to be an empty York Stadium at 2:00 on a Tuesday afternoon. There's going to be no point in it for him. It'll just harm him, really. Not harm him. There's more the club can actively do to favour his development.
Yeah.
And finally, on the centre-back thing, keep an eye out for Bobby Moore. The lad's 15 and he's been playing with the under-18s all pre-season. That's mad.
Cool.
And he's called Bobby Moore, for God's sake.
I mean, yeah, and he plays at centre-back. Not only is it a Bobby Moore, but that's actually his position. That is very good. Maybe he goes by Rob. I don't know.
No, they all call him Bobby.
Oh, good. That's good. Last thing I'll say about the Millwall game, and we've had a comment from Enshep. So the short corners. Now, I was actually just trying to look for it then. I've mentioned it every time I mention short corners. The first chapter of the fantastic Tifo book, How to Watch Football, mentions that actually short corners are not dreadful, and statistically, they are more likely to get you shots on goal and thus goals than just punting into the box. Short corners under Rossignol were bad. Short corners under Volta are moronic, because under Rossignol, we get it to Coyle, we get it to Seri, and we'd cross it in. Under Volta, we pass it short and it goes back to Pandur, or the cross is blocked because we've wasted time. The short corners are actually getting worse, not better. They were better against Bristol. at the first time he actually put the ball in the box in the 84th minute, after I was screaming at Marvin Merlin to just put it in the box because he was quite close. We actually looked like a threat. I think that's when, from the second ball we got from that, Bedier had his overhead kick, which was pretty impressive. I thought Bedier looked like a sort of big lump, and that's clearly the sort of striker we're going for. I didn't think he had an overhead kick in him, but clearly he does. Yeah. So
well, I said to my dad as soon as he came on, I just said, "Oh, he's just going to be one big dopey, lanky, useless lad, isn't he? Big lad up front."
Yeah.
And my dad was like, "Oh, hang on, give him a bit of time first." And then 87th minute, he does that.
Yeah. A very good save from the Millwall keeper, but yeah, that was a good effort. Yeah, dreadful. Little concerning going into Leeds and then Sheffield United, two parachute payment clubs. The longest we've gone in a season without winning a game is 6 games in 2007. It may be longer ago, earlier in our history, but in recent times it's 6 games, and we've not won in the first 3. We've got Leeds and Sheffield United coming up. Going to be a bit difficult. Joe, do you want to talk about the Leeds game, preview that, or do you want to talk about the transfers first?
I think we should talk about the Leeds game first, because ultimately we still do not know what the team will look like at Leeds.
Yeah, it could be 6 new signings. We were saying it could be 7 from what we've calculated.
Yeah,
2 almost already done. It's going to be a tough game. They finally got their win at Sheffield Wednesday. Should really have got promoted last season if you're a parachute payment club in the Championship nowadays, with the way that the structure's going. I think in a few years it could just be that the Premier League is 17 teams and there are just 3 who swap places every year. It's almost like that. I hope not. And something will have to happen there. I think, there's always discussions about changing the FFP rules anyway. And with Chelsea spending so much money and teams like Man City getting their charges, something will change. But it's going to be a really tough game.
Whenever these Premier League, let's say, redistribution payments get up for like review or change or renewal or whatever, the big 6 clubs are actually more likely to vote for giving more money to the lower tiers than the rest of the division, minus Newcastle, Villa, and possibly Brighton. Because so that's what 6. That's 9 teams, and it's got to be a majority for it to pass. Obviously, from what's called the league shareholders. And, well, these league shareholders who are in a relegation battle obviously want to stay up.
They want the money, don't they? Yeah.
But if they stay, so if they go down, redistribution would be great. But the thing is, none of them operate in the we might go down. They operate in the giving clubs that
we need to stay up. Yeah.
More money would mean we're more at risk of going down. So we're going to vote against them. And these 11 clubs vote against these changes to help clubs like us out. So they never get passed because Brentford, Fulham, Palace, let's say this season it's Leicester, Ipswich, Southampton, Everton. Who am I missing?
Let's not just name the entire Premier League. People know who the Premier League are. Those sort of teams, yeah.
Those sorts of teams will veto them.
West Ham.
Yeah, maybe you can put West Ham in the 10 that wouldn't really, because they're... Anyway, yeah, so they'll never get past because there are too many teams in the Premier League at risk of going down every season. Or in the bottom half of the table, and all it takes is one of the newly promoted teams to break the mould, for the want of a better phrase, and stay up for one of them to be down. So they want to stay up. They want to... Okay.
Sorry.
Are we doing this? Okay, sorry. Anyway, right, yeah. So they'll never get past because the Premier League is a nightmare. And even though it's logical, the Premier League clubs operate in self-interest and they want to stay up and preserve themselves in the Premier League. So it'll never happen. Anyway, Yeah, I think we'll lose to Leeds.
I think we will lose to Leeds, and depending on who we sign, I'm not sure. I see us beating Sheffield United, so I think we could potentially get to the point where we're trying to not break that record from 2007. It was the first 6 games we didn't win, so we'd have that 6th game against. I think it's at home to Cardiff, isn't it? And then we're away at Stoke.
That was a game in between. There's a game in between. Who is it? Cardiff's the home game on the 28th. Who is it?
Isn't it Leeds, then Sheffield United?
Then it's Leeds, then Sheffield United, then Stoke away.
Stoke away, Cardiff at home, I see. Okay, so we'd need to beat Cardiff at home, I think, to not break the record then. That'd be good.
Was that 2007, though?
Yeah.
Was that...
Well, the 2007 season, it was...
That season we ended up going up?
It was the season we stayed up by beating Cardiff in the second to last game, and we sent Leeds down.
06-07 season then.
Yeah, 2007 was the Phil Parkinson nightmare. But yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's going to be a really tough game. I mean, we'll do the combined lineup, but I'm less positive about this one because, as you'll see, it's mostly Leeds players. It's Meslier in goal, Firpo, Struijk, Rodon, Louis Coyle, who scored a really good goal against Plymouth, so he's in. Slater, because I just thought he played so well against Millwall. Ampadu, Miller, Dan James, Aronson, and Chris Bedia up front. Bedier's got to be in the team because the lead striker who's been starting for them has got 1 goal in his entire career, or in 1 league goal. So I can't actually justify someone else being in.
Who started?
Well, they've got Joel Pirot and they've got Patrick Bamford, who I've tweeted about today. But it's actually someone, Joseph, who's been playing. I've got 2 assists. I'm not.
He's really highly rated, though.
Yeah, he might be, but I can't really just put 11 Leeds players in this. I suppose I could, but 3 games in, they've won 1 game.
What would you do in the FA Cup against Man City?
What would I? Oh, if we were playing Man City, well, it would be.
What, Ederson in goal, back 4.
Ake, it'd be 11 City players. I'm not that stupid. 11 Manchester City players. I'm not that deluded that I'd put a whole player. I mean, it depends on the form.
Nah, you might just sneakily drop a Ryan Giles in over Nathan Ake.
Well, I might, because Giles is a left back. Ake has been playing left back, but he's not a left back, is he? So I think if someone was in really good form, if they've just scored, and if Man City lose 1-0 at Arsenal the week before they play us, and we've just scored a goal and they haven't scored a goal in the previous game, then I could justify putting 1 player in because it's based on form. It's not just who is the best players; it's who would play now at this point in the season. 10 Man City players and round long.
Yeah. That's a brilliant comment. That's an incredible comment.
That's true. That would actually be true. Well, we've had a few outgoings, or 1 outgoing set to be confirmed pretty soon. Micah Seri, he's done pretty well for us. He'll have been on massive wages, so financially it'll be good for him to go. But it's a shame because he's been a really good player, a luxury player that we've enjoyed watching. Joe, you're crying. Micah Seri's moved to Saudi Arabia. Thoughts on this deal?
Oh man, I'm not crying. I am fake crying, just for anyone who's taking that seriously.
He'll be missed though.
It will be missed. It's a shame. Mika. Now, this will probably kill some of you, but I'm too young to remember JJ Okocha playing for us and Giovanni playing for us. When JJ Okocha was playing for Hull City, I was 1-2 years old. So
I wasn't born.
Of my sort of generation, I've been watching Hull City since I was 7. As much as I love David Myler, and he is absolute Lord God, and Robert Snodgrass, gave me that high five at Halton Price swimming baths. the two best technical players I've seen play for Hull City are Tom Huddleston and Jean-Michel Seri.
It would be lovely to see them play together, wouldn't it? In their prime for Hull.
If
That would be
only
a pretty good midfield.
Shotter had let Huddleston stay another year,
Yeah.
and we would have seen it. We'd have seen Huddleston's experience combined with Seri's.
Crazy. I think Simons has played well so far. Slater, of course, did. We're trying to sign another midfielder or two. We've got we've signed Burns, who can play in that position, and we've signed Zambrano. Clearly, Volta's been trying to phase Seri out, but also I think from a financial perspective, I think that's the main reason why we would have got rid of him now. Although odd that he's left on a free transfer with a year left on his contract, but I think his wages would have been so big that probably good to get him off the wage bill for FFP.
Yeah, I was having this debate last night with somebody. Now Seri's gone, and players like Tufan, Alayar, etc. are no longer on the wage bill.
Figueiredo.
Does that mean Durkan Sinic's going to be our highest earner?
I don't know.
I reckon he's on about 19, 20 grand a week.
He must be on a fair bit, but equally, I don't know whether he'll have been on a huge amount in Turkey. I think the wages in the Turkish Super League for clubs like Antalyaspor, where we signed him from, can't be that big.
For up-and-coming players.
Yeah, and he was an up-and-coming player. He was a good, high-rated player, but he wasn't like a... I think the older you get, the more well-paid you probably get, as a football player. So I'm not sure whether he'd be on a huge amount, but he could be one of the top earners, definitely.
I'd estimate that Durkan Sinic's on between £15,000 and £25,000 a week. Salary Sport, which I only class as reliable because it has exactly right how much the scholars earn every week. So I class that as so that I know for a fact that's right. So I'm trusting it in that sense. Says Durkan Sinic is on £17,000 a week.
Yeah.
And the players above him there, Tufan, Seri, have now gone.
Warlord says they're reliable.
So, yeah, Sinic's 25 now. And I feel like we always talk about Durkan Sinic. Stop talking about Durkan Sinic.
Yeah.
I noticed
so we're not going to talk about him. That's it.
No, I've got one more thing. To say.
Oh, go on.
And it links us to the transfers. Two wingers coming in, both on permanent. Yes. Longman won't leave because he's injured at the moment.
No one's going to sign him at the moment, no.
So that's and Miller won't go. So that means we're going to have Abdush, Miller, two new wingers, Jarvis, Longman, Sinic.
Well, Sinic, it does not count.
Swap Longman and Jarvis around maybe, and you've got the pecking order in order there, just about. And our seventh choice winger is going to be the highest paid player at the club.
Yeah, that's kind of ridiculous, isn't it? He will be on loan to... which club did we say he was going to go on loan to?
I said Ayup Sport, didn't I?
Yeah, I can't remember who I said he was going to go on loan to, but someone... I said Pendikspor, but they got relegated. We're just repeating the same thing. It's just like Wilkes again.
Same joke as last week, but this week.
Yeah, dreadful.
Anyway, two new wingers.
Two new wingers on a permanent deal, according to Baz Cooper of the Hull NML. Abu Kamara, we've been linked to him. He was part of Portsmouth's League One winning season last year. He has allegedly requested a transfer away from Norwich. It sort of fits, the Philogene mould, perhaps. Skillful player, young, English. I would be, again, I'd say I'm 70% confident that if we're signing two permanent wingers, or trying to sign two permanent wingers, one of them is Abu Kamara, and I'd be happy with that. Especially, I think we've seen it this summer. We've not signed Zaruri or Carvalho. We don't know whether we're going to get any wingers or loan players as good as the THAB or Morton. We've not got Philogene. The quality of the players perhaps isn't quite as good as last year, but Ajahn said it recently, and I completely agree. With the difficult situation we put ourselves in, signing so many good loan players, we've had to rebuild the whole squad. Less quality permanent players to build into the team, grow and learn over maybe a mid-table season with Volta, push on next year. I think that's valid. You can't go for it every year in the Championship. You can probably only go for it as a non-parachute payment club, maybe once every 2 years.
Yeah.
So, if we can get an Abu Kamara on a permanent, that might actually put us, maybe not for this season, in signing a Philogene who is then going to leave, or someone like Carvalho who's going to leave as well. But it puts you in a better situation for the next year than signing someone like that on loan would do.
Yeah.
Another goalkeeper. Sorry, go on.
I would love Kamara. And I'm just intrigued because a good point made is Kamara would be our only left-footed winger, excluding Abdush. So a left-footed winger is a necessity, and I think Abu Kamara would fit the bill quite well. What you were saying about the goalkeeper, Nathaniel, it seems absolutely, utterly pointless signing a third goalkeeper because we've got Panda, who we spent £1.5 million on, Rachopi, who we spent just under £1 million on. We've got Lottatala, who Tim Walter said he's not going to loan out. Cartwright's injured. Fozzie is sitting as third, fourth choice at the minute. And then we've got George Wilson and Callum Yam in the under-21s. That would make it 8 goalkeepers on the books. Cartwright can't be loaned out because he's injured. Walter said he's not going to be he's not going to loan out Lottatala, but surely bringing in a third keeper would mean Lottatala and possibly Owen Foster too have to go out on loan. Probably by the time he's back, if we're signing all these players, unless some of them are under 21, we'll run out of squad space and we'll be in a situation again in January like we were when Shota Avaladze was manager 2 summers ago, where we can't register some players.
Yeah,
and Harry Cartwright might be one of the ones that falls by the wayside.
It might be one where they weren't planning to get a goalkeeper in, because I don't think they were, having signed Rachopi. But it might be that, I don't know, whether they've seen that Rachopi's just not as good as they thought he was, or more likely, sometimes you have transfers that is opportunistic. Either you offered the player or they just become available and think, well, yes, we've signed Pando and Choppy, but this player is so much better than what we've got, and we can get him. Screw the squad numbers and the transfer plan. We're going to get him, and it might be something like that.
It's likely
Darlow?
to be
Travers Darlow.
But apparently, it's a highly rated young goalkeeper, so I doubt it'll be Darlow. Dan Everson's a suggestion from Leicester I hadn't thought about, but for me, it's
he was dreadful though. Leicester basically weren't playing with a goalkeeper, when they were in the Premier League.
Even for Dan Everson, it still seems pointless because we've got Panda and Rachopi. Yeah. And if we're not dropping Panda for Rachopi at the minute, why would we drop Panda for someone else? Unless, and I made this point on Twitter earlier, it seems utterly pointless unless, for example, Georgi Mamadashvili goes to Liverpool. He's going to sit on the bench until Alisson leaves. So that makes Queemeen Kelleher available, in which case, cool, go get him. But it's absolutely 100% not Queemeen Kelleher.
We don't know.
So,
probably not, though.
I mean, I would love it. And he'd easily walk in and be our number one. But it's just not.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about the identity of the striker a little later. So I'll mention the 2 players that were at the game and or Easter egg that Volta threw in. Liam Cooper, of course, talk of the town at the moment. Some people hate him, some people don't hate him quite as much. Which side of this fence are you sitting on, Joe?
We had a bit of a debate about this in our group chat last night, didn't we?
Yeah.
I am on the side of...
We had a massive brawl, keyboard brawl we did.
Yeah, as in, had it gone on any longer, the five of us would have been out in Hull City Centre with the gloves
Scrapping.
on, with either the gloves on or the knuckle dusters out.
Broken
So
bottles. Yeah.
Will glass Tom.
For people who don't know, we are signing a free agent, 32-year-old Scottish international player Liam Cooper, who has played 284 games for Leeds. A lot of games for Leeds. Experienced defender.
However, he came through our academy. He's a Hull lad. Was a Hull City fan growing up.
Scottish. Can I be offensive for a moment? Permission to be offensive, Joe? One thing
I have no part in it.
I totally comprehend it, and I do condone it, but I condone it, but I also criticise it. The whole idea of, especially in Wales, but slightly less extent Scotland and Ireland, but Che Adams hasn't got a Scottish gene in him.
Lyndon Dykes, Australian.
Yeah.
Does it have a Scottish gene in it?
I understand. Matty Cash, Brereton Diaz, he's got a little bit more of a, excuse for Brereton Diaz. But some of these players who play for Ireland, Scotland, and Wales, and maybe haven't even been before. It's just it's funny, but bless fair play, I guess. If you want to go play for them, go ahead. But yeah, he's not Scottish, is he? Sorry, go on.
So my view. So for those who don't know, yes, Liam Cooper has played. How many games was it? I just had the tab up, and there we go. He's played 284 games for Leeds, but he also played 17 times for us. Born in Hull, joined our academy in 2002. A Hull lad growing up. His Wikipedia states, growing up, his father was a West Ham United fan and taken to games, while the rest of his family were Hull City supporters. Liam, however, supported Leeds United. Liam, that sort of got a bit of controversy, didn't it? When Liam Cooper had said, look, everyone else in my family was a Hull City fan. I wanted to be different, so I supported Leeds. To be honest, there's no loyalty in football, so he was probably just saying it to win some favour.
Louis Coyle is the Hull City captain, and he was at Leeds as well. And Wilkes, he was at Leeds.
On Louis Coyle's football academy Instagram, they did a Q&A for Louis Coyle. Someone asked him, what football club did you support growing up? That's on the story highlights on that account. Louis Coyle says, I know I'm going to get pelters for this, but I was a Leeds fan. I was in their academy from when I was very young, so I supported them. I'll get a lot of stick for it, but honesty is the best policy. For Liam Cooper, he joined us at under 12s. He made his debut when he was He's 32 now. He was born in 1991. He was given his debut in 2008. That'd have made him 17.
Quite young.
He was 17 when he made his debut for us.
Like Fraser Campbell, I feel like Liam Cooper is a transfer. Liam Cooper to Hull City is a transfer that was always going to happen at some point.
Yeah,
it just felt inevitable somehow.
Well, for example, I have it on very good authority that Connor Townsend wants to come back here and end his career at Hull City. So that's another one that I can see happening. And I, like you, Nathaniel, I always thought we'd see Liam Cooper or Sonny Bradley, one of those two, come back to Hull City.
Yes.
Bradley was close a year ago, but it didn't quite happen. He went to Derby. But this one...
That's a good comment from Stefan. Does he say up the Tigers?
I think he does.
He's got to, hasn't he?
To answer your question, Abby Warlord, Liam Cooper is not the youngest. That's Josh Timon. I think Josh Timon was 15 when he first played for Hull City.
Yeah.
So anyway, regardless, Liam Cooper got released by us, so went to Leeds. And the whole reason it sparked controversy is not because I think, for me, it's not the fact he's 32 or whatever. People are scarred by Billy Sharp, right?
Oh, we are. And we will be scarred by Billy Sharp for a while. We've not had an old player like that for a very long time, since Liam Ridgewell, perhaps?
Yeah. People are scarred by Billy Sharp and Liam Ridgewell. Let's just put some perspective on this about why this is totally different.
Well, they were both from the MLS. Yeah. And the MLS is literally, not figurative, it's literally a retirement league. It's not literally, but it literally is. Yeah.
So Billy Sharp was gradually phased out at Sheffield United, went to the MLS, then came back. Rosenior shouldn't have had to rely on a 38, 39-year-old striker. That was never the plan. The plan was he'd be back up, he'd get subbed on if we needed a goal.
Blame Angus Gunn.
Yeah, because Aaron Connolly and Liam Delap would be fit ahead of him and it would be fine. It just so happened that the day Billy Sharp could officially be registered to play for us, Liam Delap got injured, and the first league game Billy Sharp could play, Aaron Connolly got murdered. Like Nathaniel said, blame Angus Gunn.
So we mention Angus Gunn every episode as well, like Cynic.
Yeah, we do. Billy Sharp had to be relied upon until we brought in Noah Ohio. And I trust Rosenior in saying Noah Ohio wasn't fit enough for the championship until he started playing him. I trust Liam Rosenior in that. He had to rely on Billy Sharp for a little bit, and he should never have had to. Billy Sharp should never have been our, for the want of a better phrase, dependable striker up front. That was just
the idea, was it?
Yeah, it wasn't. Billy Sharp in that situation was a victim of circumstance.
I really did not hate Sharp. I've seen some people say they hate Sharp. I'm scarred by the Sharp experience. I'm not scarred by him. I feel bad for him because I don't blame him. Why would you turn down that contract? Of course you wouldn't. Like, he probably even knew he wasn't good enough, but you're not going to say no. And
he's gone to Donny now. He's enjoying his football, scoring goals. Good on him. Good on him. He's gone to a club that'll love him more than we will. That's fine. And then Liam Ridgewell, not even remotely the same situation. If anything,
was literally desperation. We signed him deadline day as a free agent. You know, you're desperate when you're signing a free agent on deadline day.
If anything, it's more akin to Tommy Elphick earlier that season. Admittedly, Elphick was 4 years younger than Cooper is now, but we had some inexperience at centre-back, i.e. Geordie Device, Reece Burke. Not a lot of championship experience there. Reece Burke a season at Bolton and some West Ham under-21s games. Geordie Device, nothing. Tommy Elphick was brought in to nurture them, and he did.
He was so good.
He was brilliant. I'll never forget him holding on to that post before kickoff and having a little prayer. And when his loan move got ended, we were in a situation where we thought, right, one, we need cover, and two, someone with a level of experience akin to Tommy Elphick could help. Liam Ridgewell was available. However, he was 36 when we signed him, I think, and he had been in the MLS from when he was 29. So he was always going to be a disaster.
Yeah, it was
so look, Liam Cooper coming in, it's not like Ridgewell at all.
He's not going to play as much, is he? Hughes is going to play. Jones is going to play. He's going to play occasionally.
So Cooper played 19 times last season. It's not a lot, but it's something. Season before, 18 games in the Premier League. Season before that, 21 games in the Premier League. Season before that, 25 games in the Premier League. Season before that, when Leeds went up, he captained that side and played 38 games out of 46.
So he's played a lot of football and
He's played a lot of football.
Last few years.
He's been involved in more promotion races. Been involved in more promotion races to the Premier League than anybody else in this entire team combined.
Yeah. So you're much more positive about it than I know. Ant, he to quote Ant in the group chat we were talking last night. I hate Liam Cooper. I think that if this was, the exact same player, but they were coming from Norwich or Nottingham Forest or Barnsley or I don't know, another club. It wasn't Leeds. We wouldn't be like hugely happy about it, but we could see we could understand it. I think because it's Liam Cooper, people hate it. I mean, he won't play much. If
no, and
he's playing, I'll be
exactly,
concerned.
That's exactly it. It's not like Sharp, because Sharp had to play. Cooper surely won't have to play. I don't think Cooper coming in automatically means Sean McLaughlin will leave. I honestly do not. I think Sean McLaughlin stays.
The chances, but I don't think McLaughlin is going to play if Liam Cooper is in the stand watching the game, meaning McLaughlin's going to leave. I don't see that.
Yeah. And also, we've just signed Charlie Hughes. Charlie Hughes, who, although he's a top talent, hasn't played much in this division. Guess who has? Liam Cooper. Andy Smith won't get to go out on loan because he's injured at the minute. He walked out yesterday with his ankle and foot in a boot. So he can't go out on loan and get that experience. I've just seen that comment come in, Coxie, about Andy Smith. He can't go out on loan because of his injury. So when he's recovered, have him get experienced guidance by Liam Cooper. Liam Cooper made his Hull City debut when he was the same age Stan Ashby is now.
That's crazy.
When Liam Cooper made his debut, he was at a very similar stage in his life overall and career to what Stan Ashby is now.
I get what you're saying, Joe.
Around the scenes should help. He won't play. He can just be there, look all right, say, oh, Liam Cooper's on the bench. Cool. He and Finn Burns will be subbed on with 5 minutes to go if we're holding on to a lead against Portsmouth in November to help see it out.
Yeah. Well said, Joe.
Contract. My argument is done. Nathaniel, have the floor. I've rambled.
Yeah. The only thing that will change my mind on this is if Liam Cooper either gets a clean sheet in a win at Leeds or scores a winner. But I totally get what you're saying. Flip side to that, he's a Leeds scum. So, who do you think the striker is that we're signing? Because Ajin again has got us excited at potentially, especially with Oscar going, or we'll mention Oscar going then. So Baz says he's going to go back to South America. Last time I checked, Mexico isn't in South America, but good try. He's going to FC Juarez in Mexico. Yeah. A shame.
He was there yesterday. I think that was apparently I got told this is mega exclusive. This is mega exclusive.
Okay.
Oscar Estupinian left these.
Oh, his AirPods. Are those actually Oscar Estupinian's AirPods you've shown us?
They're not actually Oscar's AirPods, but he left.
Oh.
He left his AirPods.
Okay.
On the team bus. Or either he left his AirPods on the team bus, or he left his AirPods at the training ground. That's why he was there and I think he thought, all right, I'm here. I've got to get on the bus to go to the training ground anyway. So I might as well just stay and watch the game. Whether he'd just been over to London or over to Manchester for negotiations where someone had flew in, and then he thought, right, I've left my stuff at the training ground, brackets, not wanting to admit he's left his AirPods on the bus. And he was just going back to get his stuff and then he'd fly. But Oscar, I can absolutely categorically confirm there is photographic evidence Oscar Estupinian was at yesterday's game. So, but he is going to go. But yeah, that's some exclusive. He left his AirPods.
Right. So we've talked a lot about Oscar recently, but I think it's probably it's a bit of a risk, of course, because it means that the top goal scorer at the club in the Championship's now got, I think it's Liam Cooper is now the top Championship goal scorer at the club. I was going to say it's Slater, but the Cooper's probably got quite a few years ago. It is. Slater's got 7, Miller's got 5, and Cooper's got to have something like 10 from a few years ago.
Liam Cooper in the Championship has 9 goals.
So he is now our Championship top goal scorer in his entire career. I think that's right. I don't think anyone else has. Miller was at Charlton, so we can't have done. It's a shame to see him leave because, he was our top goal scorer 2 years ago, but I'm not shocked. And I think we probably need someone who offers more off the ball than Oscar does. And again, financially, Oscar's gone, Sari's gone, Christie, Traore, Connolly, these sort of people left as well. THAB, the wage bill will be significantly reduced. So Warlord's happy. He's got an FC Juarez kit. But Oscar leaving, final word on him after Sari as well. It feels like end of an era. End of a sort of Adjan Ilagella period 1 of ownership,
It's the graveyard of the summer of chaos, isn't it? All that's left is Xavier Simons, Timothy Lotta-Tyler, and we'll mention his name again, Dokan Sidic.
Dear God.
They're the 3 that are left.
Longman has outlived them all. Which I highly appreciate, of course.
Matt Ingram nearly outlived them all.
Yeah. I like Oscar. Vamos, but Vamos, what's go away in Spanish? Let's go is.
See you later is hasta luego.
Hasta luego, Oscar. I mean, we won't. We will certainly not be playing FC Juarez anytime soon. Trip over to Mexico just to say hi, give him his AirPods back. So, to talk about the striker, then Adjan again has mentioned that the striker we will sign will not change the dynamics of the league. That was the thing he said earlier.
That was what Tan said.
Yes, he said people will take note of how serious we are about writing a success story. I mean, what crazy, stupid sort of quote that is, just to say he'll be a good player. I'm happy. Sure.
The one, can I just say the one that Tan said when he did his interview in Turkey? I read that when I was sat amongst some Hull City alumni, let's say, and all of them were like, bear in mind, one of them is the media team, so the media team get to know about some of this stuff quite early. For example, the media team knew it was Cody Drama before they flew out to Turkey, and it was confirmed when we came back from Turkey. That's just an example. The media team were like, hang on, what's he on about? And someone else who is not media team said, well, it's not going to be someone else from the Championship, is it? So it must be someone coming down from the Premier League. I think that was just Tan speak for convince them stuff's happening, please. So I don't think this in any way correlates between Adjan saying write a success story, make us noticed. I don't think it correlates at all to Tan saying change the dynamics of the Championship. They are 2 wholly separate things.
Different players.
Yeah, I think so. If Tan comes out and says, yeah, you see, Mike, when I did this interview with you in Turkey that went out on BBC Sounds, this is the guy. This is the guy I was on about. He will change the dynamics of the Championship. Then fair play, Tan proved me wrong, but I don't think it is.
We're not really linked to anyone.
I know, I'd love it to be Stansfield, but I just don't think it will be.
No, I feel like if it was a player from England, we might have heard about it, especially Stansfield, because Stansfield is sort of he's the Liam Delap of the summer.
Yeah.
It's crazy that, I mean, we were saying it before the podcast, I think, or was I saying it during it? That Fulham have Raul Jimenez, who's very old, and Muniz, who's only had one good season. I'm not actually sure whether they'd even let him go. I wouldn't. If I was Fulham and I've got my striking options are Raul Jimenez, who's 33, and Muniz, I wouldn't let anyone sign Stansford, especially on a permanent. Warlord says Tom Cannon's being sold.
Yeah.
If it was Tom Cannon, he scored 3 goals last season. Ajin cannot say that with a straight face. That will be a success story. Someone who scored less goals than Longman. This is not going to happen.
Well, his stats during his time in the Championship, because he was on loan at Preston, then he signed for Leicester, didn't he? Was it Preston he was on loan at?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. So in the Championship, he's played 33 games and got 10 goals across 2 seasons. A 20-game season for Preston and a 13-game season for Leicester. 8 goals for Preston, 2 games for Leicester. 21 years old. He's a young Irish international. He's played.
I'd take him, but I wouldn't take him to be like the number one. And
yeah,
I don't think it would be him.
A shout for Chuba Akpom? Absolutely no way. He'll be on far too much money at Ajax. Sorry.
Ajax.
I don't think Coxie will be Robert Glatzel either.
If we were going to sign Glatzel, we would have signed him day one of the window.
I think so too. There is a player from Hamburg, though, we will talk about in a minute. Ross Stewart from Southampton is interesting. Did do quite well for Sunderland when he was fit. And
but
we can't afford to be signing players with the asterisk when he was fit.
No, because Dokan Senik.
Again, Shankland?
I don't want Shankland. If Shankland was going to sign for anyone, he would have done that years ago. He's been linked to so many teams for ages. Clearly, he can't be that good. Because I think a player that scores that many goals but hasn't been signed for a top club in England. And the Scottish League, the qualities outside of Celtic and Rangers is really not that good.
He's still at Hearts. I thought he'd have gone to Rangers or Celtic because he was heavily linked in the summer, heavily linked in the summer. But yeah, he's 29 years old.
It's got to be like the top scorer from the Belgian league, maybe the Portuguese league, or we've been linked to that Vista striker.
Because you said before we started recording that if it was someone from England, the 3 targets of which Chris Bedia was one,
yes,
were all from abroad.
So I love the transfer window when you're trying to work out from what a journalist has said and whether that's still relevant or not.
Yeah. We're at this stage now. Someone said Carlos Vinicius earlier, which is just like never ever going to happen.
Which one's Carlos Vinicius?
He's the one who, against Marine for Tottenham, did that real elaborate celebration.
Yes. Oh, for tapping. He's the Spurs one, right?
Yeah. Someone suggested
Vinicius Jr.
There's a suggestion from Enshep, Morgan Whittaker from Plymouth. 1, not a striker. 2, if he was one of the 2 wingers, oh my goodness me, but it will not be.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind signing Whittaker from Plymouth.
Surely he can. A separate point. Surely he cannot stay at Plymouth. He cannot stay at Plymouth.
No. I mean, Jack Clark finally has gone from Sunderland. If Villa can take Philogene offers, Sunderland don't deserve to keep Jack Clark. Yeah. I'm not going to go into a big thing about Ipswich, but they've only signed young players in the Championship. I think it's just a bit of a shame. And we mentioned earlier that these Championship teams getting promoted to the Premier League haven't got a chance, really. The only thing they can do is sign Championship players in the hope that when they get relegated, they can go up again. Yeah. I really don't know who the striker is, but they better be good because Burstow, bless him, has only scored one championship goal. He could still be a good player in the future, though. And I think Bedier, there's always a risk of how he's going to adapt. He's only scored goals in Switzerland and the French second division, not the best levels of football. Good signing. I'm happy with him. But yeah, I think.
Well, speaking of Ipswich, actually, I've just logged on Twitter to see if anything has come of this. About Ipswich. Ipswich saw Burnley defend last season and thought, yeah, we'll take Muric and Dara O'Shea for 25 million.
Yeah.
And to put some goalkeeper talk to rest, Pete O'Rourke has just said that Blackburn are closing in on signing Bournemouth goalkeeper Mike Travers on loan, with Strasbourg and Rayo Vallecano still.
I don't know whether I've lost you or no. Have you muted yourself, Joe? You have done.
No, my mic just disconnected itself.
Yeah, it sounds like it has. Yeah, Enship, if Whittaker's left-footed, it would be perfect the right wing. Yeah, I'd say so. Warlord isn't impressed by Muric. I think he had some pretty bad, with 2 mistakes against Man City the other day. That's why Haaland scored yet another hat-trick. And then, of course, we've not actually mentioned him, but we are still expecting one of the German invincibles, Puerta, to be announced from by Leverkusen on loan with an option to buy.
Am I back?
You are back. You are back, Joe. Okay, cheers.
Good. Yeah.
So it could be very exciting end to the window. I don't know whether we're going to get 7. I'm not even sure we're going to get 6. Well, I could see us getting 1 winger, a striker, Cooper, Puerta, and I'm not even sure whether we'd get a goalkeeper. I think maybe
Puerta's done.
Maybe not.
I think we can say both him and Cooper are done. And absolutely. That leaves one we haven't spoken about. Jonas Meffer.
Oh yeah, go on.
The club expect to get that done, even though Hamburg are adamant he's not going to go, and because the club think that is imminent. Baz has said that is imminent. We are not pursuing Lewis Travis from Blackburn anymore.
Yeah, that makes sense. We're probably doing priced out of that one. I think they wanted a few million, whereas Meffer, maybe last year, his contract a bit older. Yeah, Warlord says Baz. Meffer said Meffer's imminent. I mean, that'd be a good signing, I assume. But
fits into Valsa's style, knows it like the back of his hand already.
Yeah. I reckon we're getting to 80 minutes. We need to start thinking about wrapping this one up.
Yes,
but we'll probably do one. When is deadline day?
Day before the Leeds game.
So it's Friday.
Yeah.
We'll probably just do one on Sunday then.
So chances are for Leeds, Puerta will be in the team. Cooper will be in the team. Meffer possibly, because that one's apparently imminent. The rest, if they're done before deadline day, then yes. If they're done on deadline day, then no.
Is there even room to get all 5, 6, 7 of these signings in the squad at the same time? I'm not actually sure there is.
I mean, 7 signings in 1 week is going to be mad, isn't it?
I mean, there's supposed to be 2 or 3 Premier League loans happening, and I'm not sure if it's 2 permanent wingers and a striker from abroad, then who are these Premier League loans?
The striker might not necessarily be from abroad, but the striker is what we're spending money on.
Stansfield.
Please be Stansfield.
Please be Stansfield.
Anyway, but our loan spots, they're going to be used by Bedier, Burns, Puerta, Zambrano, and the goalkeeper.
Yeah. And Shep says Whittaker, Kamara. Whittaker and Stansfield. I'd be happy with that.
Oh yeah, I'd be buzzing if on deadline day, Jay Stansfield is stood at the training ground, then I'd be loving it.
We're still waiting for that Carvalho Philogene moment. I still feel like our best signing is yet to come, which is very exciting.
Yeah, I think so. I get the feeling it might be a sit at the training ground all day kind of job.
Waiting in a bush for Philogene.
No, that was Twine who was found in a bush.
Wasn't it? Surely it was Philogene in the bush.
No, it was someone posted Twine sat out on the training ground pitch doing his interview, and the club then announced Philogene by sending a photographer into the bushes and saying, "There's another one for you."
Nice. So it's sort of both.
Yeah. So I am absolutely going to spend some time at the training ground on deadline day. I'm just not sure how much yet, but we'll see. I might not even be able to see anyone, but you never know.
Any last comments this week, or
one about going out on loan? Both Vaughan and Sellers Fleming have been linked with moves away. Harry Vaughan, interestingly, is training with the under-21s again full time.
He's got to get some more game time somewhere else. Simons too. If you sign Puerta and Nefer, Simons will probably go out on loan.
Yeah, I think that's us, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say so. Well, Joe, excellent inputs as always. Thanks for joining me, and everyone who's commented in. And we'll see you next week.